Morning, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning, I'm going to be reacting to the Final Fantasy. Yes, the Final Fantasy house down the rabbit hole made on the Fredrik Knudsen YouTube channel. Sorry, I'm just looking for the person who requested it. I can't see their name. Oh, Mr. Troll. Yeah, sorry. Okay, yes, it's Mr. Troll 9795. Yeah, sorry, the pen ran out of ink and I couldn't really tell my own handwriting there. But yes, Mr. Troll 9795 requested that I should react to the Final Fantasy house down the rabbit hole made on the Fredrik Knudsen YouTube channel. If you guys want to check out my previous reaction to other Fredrik Knudsen's videos, remember that the reaction playlist card is going to be at the top right here. If you want to check out the original video as well as Fredrik Knudsen's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start with the Final Fantasy house down the rabbit hole. 3, 2, 1, go.
Of the early internet stories, there are few as infamous as the Final Fantasy house. Though the details are unclear to most who remember it, its reputation is still sometimes invoked on forums in reference to terrible housemates or the eccentric potential from online communities, especially.
Okay, this is not going the way I thought it was going. I thought we were talking about the game. Final Fantasy. Okay, this is not going with the way I thought it was going. Yeah, I was going to say I know of the game Final Fantasy. I've played the game on my PlayStation 2. Yeah, long time ago. A very long time ago. And I haven't played Final Fantasy ever since. You know, ever since I left, or should I say, I put my PlayStation 2 into storage. That was the last time I played Final Fantasy. Yeah, but now, housemates? What's going on here?
Fandoms. What's more, it was one of the main channels through which internet users were introduced to the otherkin phenomenon.
Otherkin are a fringe group of human society who, for one reason or another, believe themselves to be reincarnation of mythic creatures, typically elves, through others include dragons, demons, vampires, ogres, deities, and so on. Related groups include Theranthropes? What? I can't pronounce that word. Wait, hold on. There's a word here I need to search the meaning of. So we're dealing with people who are, well, they're not make-believe. Well, they are make-believe. You know, they believe themselves to be these mythical creatures from games and fantasy, high fantasy type of content. All right.
Therianthrope or Therianthrope.
Therianthrope. Huh. Therianthrope. Okay. Therianthrope is a being often depicted in mythology, folklore, or fiction that combines human and animal characteristics. This can involve shapeshifting between human and animal form, or hybrid form that blends both. The term can also refer to individuals who identify with non-human animal identity, sometimes called otherkin. Okay. Therianthrope. Therianthropes who believe themselves reincarnations of animal souls or otherkin or otakukin, people who think they are reincarnations of fictitious characters from Japanese anime, manga, and video games. Wow. Okay. As long as you're not hurting anybody. If you want to believe that you're some reincarnated mythical creature, it's fine. It's fine. Do what you want. It's your life. Okay? All I'm saying is that maybe you need to talk to somebody. Okay, maybe you do need to talk to somebody. But otherwise, as long as you are not hurting anybody, I don't see a problem with identifying yourself as a lion or a dragon or a snake or something. That's you. Yeah. Let's continue.
So what was the Final Fantasy house? On April 18th, 2005, a LiveJournal user under the handle of GenkiCrack made a long, scattered post detailing an experience with specific fans of Final Fantasy VII, a popular and influential story
Yeah, PlayStation, yes. But I think this is PlayStation 1. Yeah.
driven game from Japan. He introduced it by writing, "These people are dangerous. This is not a joke. This is my experience with them." He began by explaining his place within the fandom. Quote, "Most people watching the journal now probably don't know this, but back in the day, I ran a pretty popular website devoted to the characters Cloud and the very minor character, Zack, from Final Fantasy VII. It was really the only comprehensive one out there about the two, which was why it got such notice. I was used to receiving fan mail or other people's fan art, which I had put up on the website." Unquote. At the time of his alleged experience, he explained that he was a college freshman and a heavy drinker. In 2002, he was contacted by a person calling herself Hojo, referencing the mad scientist villain from the game, and the two began conversing with each other occasionally over AOL Instant Messenger. Hojo had her own fan site dedicated to her namesake, and following the same pattern, she began calling the writer Zack after his site. At the time, he thought nothing of this. Sometime after, he was introduced to Hojo's wife, who went by Genova, or Jen, after an ancient evil and alien creature from the game. The writer describes their first encounter online. Quote, "Then came a good old bombshell. I was asked if I had any memories of past lives. I do believe in past lives. I think it's a pretty valid cycle given how many cultures believe in it. So I told her no, I didn't, but I did believe in it."
Okay. Why would you do that? Just be honest with yourself and be honest with those who you're talking to.
I should never, ever have said that. It was like inviting the vampire into my house. Jen's attack was swift and sure. She began in a flurry explaining things to me, how there are alternate universes. Do you grant me that? Sure, there could be. And in those universes, maybe, just maybe, video games actually happened. I thought it could be plausible, cause I like imagining anything's possible. Through all of this and all this flurry, she tells me that she thinks in a past life, I was Zack from Final Fantasy VII. "Think about it," she said. "You're both country grown. You both have that instinct of dragging off friends who could be left behind. You'd take a bullet for someone, right? You say you don't believe in magic or any of that, and he wanted to be a mercenary. For all of his 5 or 6 lines, you have a similar speech pattern. You even live in a basement like he was locked in one, and you hate it. Addle your brain with freshman idiocy and vodka, and this will suddenly make sense. Sure, maybe I..."
No, it won't. It won't. Why him in particular? There's many other people across the world. There's 7 billion human beings. There's a chance, there's a possibility that someone is also living relatively the same sort of lifestyle that this man, I didn't write down his name, but the man who is being proclaimed as Zack, you know, there are many people who are living similar sort of lives or lifestyles that he's living. Do we also call them the reincarnation of Zack? No. But if you want to play your make-believe, it's okay. just know your boundaries, okay? Just know your boundaries. If other people are not reciprocating your type of interest in this other kin stuff, you know, gameplay or playness of yours, then don't, you know, impose it on others. Don't try to influence them or manipulate them into believing that they are reincarnated of the characters in your game that you play. You know, just know your boundaries. Yeah. Okay, Jen.
"Not him now," I said, "but it was possible." unquote. The writer agreed to meet them in the town of State College, Pennsylvania that winter to stay at their apartment a week before Christmas. He was met at the bus stop by Hojo, wearing a lab coat, who escorted him back to where they were living. Quote, "When we arrived at the apartment, Jen, who insisted I call her Genova and would often refer to herself as Jenny Nova, came storming up to Hojo and I.
Let me just get down the name here. Genova. Alright.
Screaming in Hojo's face. I have no idea what it was about. She was wearing a purple skirt pulled up around her breasts. It looked like she had just got out of bed, and I was, to say the very least, intimidated. About 3 seconds later, she whirled around in a quick change. Suddenly, the nicest person ever. Whatever she was mad about was out the window. About this time, I started to realize, though, Jen wasn't role-playing when she talked about her children and other selves. Jen is what the internet calls a soul bonder, or in other words, batshit loony.
Soul bonder. Okay. Or batshit loony. Yeah.
Believes she has a lot of people living in her head talking, and when she wants to take on a personality that best fits a situation for her personal gain, she acts one out. I.e., if she wanted to get sympathy, she would raise the pitch of her voice and pretend to be an innocent child.
So this lady is just acting out the many television shows or animated shows or games that we play, you know, with the different characters that have this, you know, demeanor about them. One time they're angry, they have this serious voice, and then another time they are funny, they have this, you know, funny, jokey kind of attitude and voice to it. Or one time they're sad, and you know their tone or their voice tone just changes, and you know it just makes it easier for us, the viewers or the players of the games, to understand that okay, this character is sad. All right.
Unquote. Despite these occurrences, the writer's overall experience was positive, and he would frequently return for visits, each time paying $300 for a bus ticket.
Wow. Okay. Maybe he wants that sense of belonging, and I guess what's her name again? Jen and Hoji are giving him this sense of belonging, this sense of friendship. Maybe he doesn't have friends, maybe he feels as if he's misunderstood, and these two ladies are giving him, you know, that sort of friendship and understanding. Alright.
With every visit, he would meet someone new, many of them soul bonders themselves. Jen would frequently ask for money to buy food, and the writer would relent, feeling a sense of obligation. She would also...
Wait, what? What do you mean you're giving them money to buy food? What are they doing to survive on their own? Before they met you, what did they do? Okay, but yeah, you know, if they're your friends and you feel like, you know, you want to help them out, okay. But it's a bit concerning that you're just giving them food, money, and you know, not really ascertaining into like what's going on with their finances. Why can't they afford their own food? Why are they directing, you know, that request to you, someone who already spends $300 just to travel from his location over to where you guys are staying?
So attempt to help the writer and others grow more attached to whatever Final Fantasy character she had assigned to them. This was achieved through various means, including pantomimed magical battles and a past life regression involving laying on the floor and listening to music from the game. In one instance, on a trip to the college, she and Hojo locked the writer in a soundproof room past the point of panic to help him, quote, remember being Zack.
This sounds like indoctrination. They are sounding more and more like a cult. This entire, what are the other kin society? They're sounding like a cult, Ugh.
Another time, when meeting someone soul bonded to the character Eris, Jen attempted to coax them into sleeping together. To this end, she announced that she was going to lace their food with aphrodisiacs, but whether she actually did so or not, her demands were not realized. As strange as these instances were, however, they were not enough to dissuade the writer when Jen and Hojo proposed that he move in with them.
The writer, like I stated before, I think he feels as if he's noticed, he's understood, he is loved by these two manipulators. And, we can't really fault him for that. Maybe, like I've stated before, maybe he doesn't have friends. Maybe he doesn't have that self-esteem and self-worth in himself that would kick in when he sees and he hears these types of situations coming from these two very manipulative people. He found belonging. He found purpose when, joining up with these two ladies. And I can't really fault him, because there are people out there who also experience, solitude, whether it is intentional or unintentional. They just feel like as if they're not really connected with the rest of the world and not really connected with everybody else, who have their friends, who have their groupings and stuff like that, and they feel like they're loners. And when someone reaches out their hand to you and tell you that you have a space in my life, you have a purpose in my life, you contribute to our friendship, I am going to be your friend, I am going to befriend you, and we are going to work together, we are going to be happy together. It's amazing. It's amazing, that type of commitment or confirmation, or that type of love that's not coming from your family, but is coming from someone who is not related to you at all, someone who recognizes you and sees you. And these two ladies have succeeded in making sure that they make the writer feel welcomed and loved and appreciated. It's just that now they're using him, but he's emotionally blind to that reality.
The writer moved into the State College apartment in the summer of 2003 with plans to only stay for the season. Within 3 days, he found a part-time job at a supermarket to help pay for food and rent, and he quit drinking as well. But his experience quickly degraded. Quote, "I can't even say what came first, chicken or egg, but let's just say that after 1 week, I was getting sick of it. I was the workhorse. I guess because I was Zack, I was therefore the manly man, as opposed to Jen, the Cetra queen, or Hojo, the frail scientist. Jen quit her babysitting job and refused to look for another one. I was the one who had to carry groceries to and from the house, the one who made the money to feed everyone, the one who had to fix or move furniture when it needed to be fixed or moved. My computer could rarely get online because Jen was on almost 24/7. The rest of the time she would watch me as I typed, so I could never make a journal entry that read something along the lines of, 'Jen is abusing me, help me God, I'm tired and I want out of here.'"
He is already thinking about the fact that he is suffering living in this in this apartment or house with Hoji and Jen, but he still doesn't have the will in him to leave them behind. And if someone else came to the writer and told him, "You are being manipulated, you're being controlled, this is a cult, you can't allow yourself to be used this way," he's not going to listen. He's not going to listen to anyone, because a part of him is still in denial, thinking that there'll be better days, that I will enjoy my time with people who understand me. So ultimately, it's up to the writer himself to finally come to the realization that I am being used, that this is a cult, and I am not truly being appreciated or loved as me, and I need to go. That will only happen when he finally decides that he wants to do it. anyone else who wants to tell him that, he's just going to brush it aside and say that, you don't understand me, you don't understand Hoji or Jen. So we just have to be patient. Whether he leaves this cult or not, it is entirely up to him. But yeah, these people are very manipulative, definitely.
Unquote. Jen's pattern of surveillance worsened quickly. She would always be listening in on calls, reading his online interactions, and demanding to know wherever he was going to keep track of him. She would frequently wake
Definitely it's a cult.
him up in the middle of the night for sundry magical errands, depriving him of sleep. She demanded he spend his meager paycheck on $10 steaks for dinner, which made him sick, and when those would only last one night, she and Hojo had him ask for unsold food at the supermarket. Nobody in the apartment would take out the garbage or clean besides the writer, who only washed the dishes, and so the stink festered in the apartment in the hot Pennsylvania summer.
The stink?
Jen only wore a single dress and refused to bathe, opting instead to use scented oil. The writer
Ew. 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 Like, if I was a writer, that would snap me out of this cult so fast. So fast. You're not bathing. You're just putting on some scented oil and you're done? Ew. Ew.
writer described the smell in the apartment as rotting flesh and a miasma of filth with Sparkle Sunshine Fairy artificial sugar scent sprayed over it. What's more, Jen and Hojo would beat each other loudly and with increasing frequency behind.
Sis, guys, no. How can you be in any sort of close, intimate activity with someone who hasn't bathed, who just sprays on or puts on oils? That's disgusting. That's sus, man.
Their bedroom door as the summer continued, each time followed by noisy sex. This pattern of starvation, sleep deprivation, surveillance, and social isolation eroded the writer's will.
Does she brush her teeth? If she's not bathing, does she brush her teeth? Oh my god.
And he began supporting them blindly. For example, while the writer was staying there, Eris grew tired of Jen, and the two had a falling out. The writer described the aftermath. Quote, apparently, Eris called one evening when Hojo and I were at the used bookstore, stealing books, yes, that poor, and said she wanted some of her things back that she had left at the apartment. Jen exploded. She called Hojo's cell phone in tears, screaming she was going to kill herself. I believed it. Hojo called Sid and demanded he go over. Hojo called Eris and screamed at her. I told her off too. We rented a taxi with money we didn't have and raced home. Jen, who had been screaming she had slit her wrists, was sitting in the middle of the floor. Sid was draping damp cloths on her wrists. I woke up for a second and knew this was bullshit. I had a problem with self-injury, so I knew very well the site of a deep cut and the site of a light cut. I know well knife wounds. Jen had scratched herself horizontally on the wrists. Maybe it had been with a safety pin or a butter knife. It was not any kind of suicide attempt. At the most, it would sting. But I was still mad at Eris because I was supposed to be. I wrote her nasty emails, I joined them in bashing her, I ignored her when she came to pick up her stuff, even though she obviously wanted to still be friends with me. I regret that now because we never reconciled then. Maybe if I had got a clue and tried to get out with her, things would have turned out different.
Yeah, but you can't. None of you can. You're all being manipulated by these two people, Hoji and Jen. And yeah, this is just another hallmark of a manipulator, to get that attention to them, to get your sympathy or your empathy to their advantage. And yeah, like I stated before, the only way you're going to escape from this is when you realize it yourself, that you're being used. When you realize it yourself that you're in a cult. When you realize it yourself that you don't need to be recognized by these people to be happy. Once you finally understand that notion, that you yourself is the most important thing, And your happiness doesn't need to be found through other people. It can be found through yourself. Until you've truly mastered that mindset, you're going to be trapped in this type of manipulative situation where you are doing all to please others because you believe that they love you. So, yeah, continue to stay in this house where people don't bath and take your money for their own purposes. Yeah, until you understand that you need to leave this place. Yeah, let's be patient with him. Maybe the writer will leave.
Unquote. Soon he was left with no money to leave and no confidence to ask for help. Even when he attempted to talk to his father at a payphone, Jen would go hunting for him. Then, when the filth in the apartment grew unbearable, Jen and Hojo asked their landlord if they could move to a smaller, single-room apartment, further increasing their proximity. The writer was the one to move the boxes. Soon after the move, the supermarket cut the writer's job to 1 hour a week. But even so, Hojo took all of them out to buy new things for the apartment,
And where are you getting the money for all of this, Hojo?
implying that she had been hiding money away in order to make the writer pay for things. Here, as they did many other times, they fought publicly. However, there was one person from the circle of friends in town who had consistently helped to stabilize the writer's mental state, a person who went by Sid, also a name from Final Fantasy, though the author describes him as having, quote, 1 foot in reality. He wrote, Sid occasionally would come over. When he did, I was glad because it was someone else. But he was and still does have his dickish moments. Jen would make these the be-all end-all and Renee would back her up. I began to think he was like that all the time and didn't want to hang out with him when he was gone. Once he came back, they had to restart the process of brainwashing me all over again. Unquote. It was after one of these visits that the writer finally gathered the will to leave.
Finally.
Inspired after someone had stolen his shoes, he left everything behind in the apartment and walked the streets barefoot. By the end, he had spent a total of 2 months living with Jen and Hojo. After being homeless for a few days, Sid helped him gather his things and return to his mother's home in Brooklyn. Besides his own account, the writer spoke of a few others involved with Jen specifically. One account was about someone he referred to as Captain McCool, a sensitive person with whom they sought to fill the vacant spot that the writer had left. When they asked him to move in with them, he was too nervous to turn them down directly, and so he claimed that he had been assaulted to avoid it. When they discovered his lie, they, quote, had him stuck in a chair and forced him to watch while they raped each other. Another person, whom he referred to as Bean, would sell her blood to help fund Jen's lifestyle.
Sell her blood? Why do you need to... For who? Who's buying blood? Oh my gosh.
At the time he was writing the LiveJournal post, she was still living with them, but stayed in the attic and was forced to remain as quiet as possible. The writer expected some people in the Final Fantasy community to see this, but he couldn't expect the sort of attention it would receive. Word spread quickly about the LiveJournal post, and many fans of Final Fantasy, as well as Soulbonders, commented that they had heard some details about Jen and the group in State College, but hadn't known the extent of their behavior. Others who already knew her found these claims unsurprising. Beyond the
Guys, I think we need to call the police. I think the writer has to call the police. I don't know under what charges are they going to be set upon, but someone needs to watch these people because they are doing very strange things, unhealthy things. Hey, okay, maybe not the police, but get a psychiatrist. Get someone who can talk to these people. Oh.
Community, however, this story gained interest on forums, including 4chan, who treated it with disgust and fascination. It was soon adopted into general knowledge as a way to reference poor living conditions and soulbonders, a subsection of a group known as Otherkin. It was here that the infamous story earned its generally recognized name and misnomer. the Final Fantasy VII House, or often just the Final Fantasy House. Though the rest of the internet would sometimes question its veracity, the writer's account seemed generally accepted within the Final Fantasy community. He began to receive testimony from other people affected by the group, many of them people he had met during his time at the apartment. To share their correspondences, he created a website where he cataloged the accounts of those who approached him alongside his own. Due to the limited archival information available, it's difficult to say the rate at which he updated the site with new accounts, but it appears he was receiving them as late as 2006, with each person represented by a pseudonym. Some of these accounts were from people mentioned in the original LiveJournal post, and they helped elucidate the practices of the group and enunciate Jen's and Hojo's behaviors. These accounts suggest an air of amateurishness yet charisma to everything Jen did. For example, one account from someone going by Zarla wrote, quote, "There were also tarot card readings and such while we were there. Jen had the same tarot deck I had as a kid, the Tarot of the Cat People, and she told my fortune using the exact same method outlined in the little booklet that came with the cards. I can't remember anything really specific about the readings except there was always mention of something coming after me or something, thus the coughing. If I remember right, later we were playing with a Ouija board and that something or someone was again trying to contact us." Unquote. These accounts would also unanimously support the assertions about Jen from the original writer. One of the oddest entries, however, was an open letter prefaced by the LiveJournal writer. Quote, "The following was taken from the Wayback Machine. It is posted without consent of the original author, and I want to make that damn clear. She has nothing to do with it being here, so don't involve her. It is being backed up here due to the fact that it contains some current information that I felt should be edited out, like names or references to other people uninvolved. As far as I know, the original author is now happily farming turkeys in Idaho. Don't hassle her." This was written in 2003. The article itself is apparently written by another active member of the soul bonding community, though clearly no longer associated with Jen, under the pseudonym Candy Wrapper. The introduction to the letter reads, "Genova, when I became your apprentice, you told me to shut up and not argue with you. Apparently, a sorceress is supposed to be a creature who blindly accepts the opinions of the authorities, even when she firmly believes that they are wrong. From this, I learned that when Jen says something I disagree with, I need to nod and make agreeing sounds anyway, otherwise we would have to fight every 2 minutes, and quite frankly, saying what I thought wasn't worth the hassle. I am not, however, your apprentice anymore, and I am free to say what I think. And I will, because it's a relief to say it, even if you aren't reading this. I do not actually give a crap whether you read it or not. It will hurt your feelings, and you will care that it happened, and I don't. You have been warned." The letter is structured as a list, and the first item reveals the name of Jen. "You do not look like any Final Fantasy characters. You look like Jennifer Cornett. End of story."
Jennifer Cornett? Who's that?
She shared some of her thoughts on Hojo and her relationship with Jen. If Renee does not go to class and do her homework, it will be difficult for her to pass those classes. Then she is no closer to graduating. Until she graduates, it will be hard for her to get a job that makes more money than she gets now. This is called capitalism, and it's a bitch. No one likes it, but no one has come up with anything that works any better. Renee always has to call off work or skip class to give you attention. She does this because she loves you. Love makes people do irrational and reckless things. This is one of them. That does not make it a good idea.
Yes, definitely.
You are wrecking Renee's life. It is wrong to do so, even if you have her permission.
But she won't care. Genova won't care. She definitely won't care. She's going to continue on with this nonsense because it benefits her. It benefits her ego.
Few other choice lines read, "You have no money because you keep spending it on things you want. Anything you want is not automatically a magical item. There may be potential magic in everything, but then there's magic in things you don't bother to look at, things you can have for free. If something is a magical item, that doesn't mean you must own it. It would be nice if you could, but you can't always do so. I had money because I rarely bought anything for myself. Whenever I got some money, I would save it. I am not a money generator, and neither are my parents. If you want to have money, you need to not spend it. I now do not have money because I spent it on you. Poof, all gone. You still wanted more, but I didn't have any more to give you. I have been using crystals since I was 10 years old. You are wrong when you start with that 'you won't use them properly' shit, because I have been using crystals since elementary school."
Crystals? like energy crystals. Okay.
You taught me no magic. The only thing I actually learned from you was to beware of people like you. But
Good. Very good.
among these accounts, there was one that stood out from the others, and if it's to be believed, it showed just how far the manipulation of Jen's entourage could go. In November of 2005, the LiveJournal writer entered email correspondence with a woman who went by Mela. Mela had apparently known and bonded with Jen in a Utah boarding school, and rediscovered her online through an open letter. Though the quote in the email isn't quite the same, it's highly likely that the letter Mela discovered was the list written by Candy Wrapper. Hoping to reconnect, Mela asked the author of the letter for Jen's information, and sometime after, she visited Jen's residence for 2 weeks. Here, she claims Jen was able to convince her
For 2 weeks? My gosh.
to spend $2,000 on various objects and food by asking only for small amounts at a time. Sometime afterward, likely in 2005, Mela made the decision to begin living with them. Quote, I moved in with $17,000 in my bank account, and soon Jen had drained all of that on necessities, all for the house, many of which went into Jen's room and never came out. Soon I received a check from the investment company for $80,000, and Jen's spending began again in earnest. I tried to get her to stop spending money on frivolous things, but every time I said no or told her she should spend her own money buying things for herself, she
What money does she have? You are the money. You are the purse. Okay? You are the credit card. She has no money of her own.
threw a fit. All this time, she was telling me how important I was to her special plan, how the world needed us to stick together so we could conquer evil, etc.
The world does not even know of your existence. Nobody knows of your existence. Nothing.
Wanted desperately to feel special. I was scared and alone, and I believed her. She knew a few magic tricks, was very good at reading people, and could give relatively accurate tarot readings. I fell for her lies, hook, line, and sinker." Unquote. After she moved in, it was clear that Hojo's relationship with Jen had deteriorated, and she had been supplanted by a new person named Angel, whom Mela claimed was remarkably violent. Jen was now sleeping exclusively with Angel, though sometimes Hojo would sleep with Angel as well. Hojo was forced to stay extremely silent during the day or risk being berated by Jen. This information strongly suggests that Hojo was the one who was selling blood to fund Jen. Their hygiene
My gosh.
was also still
Like honestly guys, why are you selling your blood? Where is there a market for human blood exactly? I'm ignorant about these types of things. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, people offer blood to like a blood bank, for medical reasons. Like if someone needs blood, a blood transfusion, they would get a requisition from the blood bank, and that blood is sent over to the hospital for the patient that needs the blood. But I've never heard of a business that focuses on people selling their blood. Like who is this market that is demanding human blood? Huh.
abysmal. Quote, "Oh, how Jen smelled. Angel was much worse, though. I don't think that girl ever bathed. They just
Oh my gosh. How do you people live with yourselves not bathing? Just putting on oils and scented oils, thinking that that's going to mask the filth. Ugh.
kept adding perfume, and Jen's purple skirt/dress stinked to high heaven. That was until I made her other clothes to wear." Jen, during this time, was apparently made aware of the LiveJournal writer's website as well. At some point, it appears that they moved somewhere new, and it was here that she claimed she was beaten on multiple occasions. Once, during a dispute, one of them grabbed onto Mela's hair and started slamming her head into the floor, while Jen and Angel beat her with their fists, then sat on her and attempted to choke her.
Now we can call the police. Now we can call the police. This is assault. We need to call the police on these people. This cannot continue to go on.
Finally, she passed out from the head trauma. Jen would later convince her that she had attacked Jen first, then blacked out. Eventually, Mela would tolerate no more, and she kicked them out. Much like their apartment, the house was left a mess, which Mela documented with photographs. They also had stolen numerous objects upon their departure, including board games, fabric, and a set of corsets, though her demand for back payments of rent, quote, in excess of 10K, is suspiciously inexact. While this account is consistent with other reports of the group's behavior, there was no method by which anyone could verify the veracity
Wait, is that the purple dress?
of any of them, instead leaving only the word of the writers. Alongside this, the author would finally reveal the faces of Jen and Hojo. In the frequently asked questions section, he wrote, "Is this photo Vincent/Jen/Hojo? 90% of the time, no. This was Jen in 1999. She got fatter and dirtier. This was Renee in 2000. She looks the same." In response to this attention, Jen and Hojo began to frantically delete most traces of themselves online, and even with their names publicly available, nobody could find them. After this, the attention on these stories began to wane. But only a few years after the accounts were posted, the Final Fantasy house would return in a way that nobody expected and, at first, seemed entirely unrelated.
I'm serious, guys. These ladies need to be taken to some sort of psychiatric hospital. I think both of them, and also, what was her name again? Yeah, no, I think it was just Hoji and Jen. And no, I forgot the third person. But yes, they need to be arrested for assault charges against Mela. They need to be arrested. Either they're gonna go to prison or they're gonna be given some psychiatric help, because they are dangerous. They are dangerous to people who are vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable. Like what has happened to Mela, like what has happened to the writer, what has happened to Sid, what has happened to Eris, and many other people. This little cult needs to be dismantled. They need to go to jail, or they need to go for psychiatric help. Phew.
On July 15th, 2008, a LiveJournal user by the name of Dragon Tiger Claw wrote a post entitled Insane Housemate Part 1 and published it on Housemate Horror, an open, moderated page where people could share their stories of bad roommates. The opening reads, quote, "I used to live in an awesome situation in SoCal until the housemate from hell moved in."
SoCal. Where's that? California? SoCal, California. I don't know the so part, but okay.
Fortunately, she has left, but the bitterness remains on my tongue. It is a saga that can only be told in pieces. Please bear with me. In the cut, you will find part 1 of the saga involving the girl who believed she was a video game character. Unquote. Soon, the author would name himself as Pete. The tale was structured in irregularly sized sections, with many of them ending on cliffhangers. He explained that he was living with 5 other people in a 4-story house. He claimed that the rent was a preposterously low $500 a month, and that the landlord, Matt, kept it that way because his chief concern was that he wanted company in the house he had inherited. However, his standards for roommates were high. They all had to have stable income and employment and be at least 25 years old. The woman who was chosen after their screening process was kept anonymous by Dragon Tiger Claw and was given the placeholder name Sarah, who moved in without much trouble. She claimed to be a 27-year-old computer programmer who already had a job in the area, but when she went back to work after the move, she returned saying she was laid off.
Wow, just like that? Okay.
Others offered to help her find new work, she consistently delayed accepting it, which
Really?
made them suspicious. But much more striking was her connection to a particular game. Quote, "In the 3 weeks that followed, Sarah was still unemployed. She spent all her time playing video games in the family room.
How is she paying for the rent, the $500? How is it that she's not being kicked out by the owner of the establishment, or should I say of the house, because one of his rules was that you have to be employed? So how is she still here after all this time?
would play the same game over and over, some crappy-looking RPG from the 90s. It had an unpronounceable name, but Sarah said she was bonded to the game. She also told us that she changed her name to be that of one of the game characters. Upon further discussion, she explained that she believed she was the human incarnation of this character and that they shared a soul.
Right.
Unquote. Pete refused to reveal what character she was claiming to be, however, since it would be identifying information. This game would, in the second update, be revealed to be the Japanese RPG Suikoden, released in 1995. Soon afterwards, a friend of hers came to visit the house. She also believed herself bonded to a Suikoden character, specifically Sasarai, but since Pete could neither spell nor pronounce it, he simply called her something. After spending a week together
Something?
playing video games, they picketed a barbecue that the rest of the housemates were having. Though they had been given vegetarian options to join, they refused on moral grounds, denouncing them for eating meat. After they were aggressively told off, they were asked for a house meeting, which took place in March, to discuss whether or not Sarah would be allowed to stay. Sarah attempted to explain herself. Quote, "Sarah lifted her head and started to talk. She started with, 'I am sorry, but you have to understand where I am coming from.' She also said, 'Lots of people can't understand me because I have such a high intellect, it is beyond their grasp.'"
Kick this lady out. Kick this lady out. Kick her out right now. Kick her out. I think this is Javona. Not Javona. Yeah, Genova. Genova, sorry. Yes, kick her out. Right now. She's not really explaining why she shouldn't be kicked out. She's just telling you guys nonsense. Kick her out.
"Excuse us for being sane, bitch." Unquote. They eventually learned that she had used friends' help to get past the screening process. She had never had a job in California, was from the East Coast, and used a friend's address to get a California driver's license while another posed as her boss. Matt allowed her to stay until May 1st, since she had already paid for April.
Okay, alright, Matt. Yeah, no, I get it. But after that, she has to get out.
Sarah, however, wasn't willing to leave so easily. By this point, numerous readers had become enraptured, begging for updates to what they had come to call the Sarah Saga, and many returned daily in hopes that a new part would be posted by Pete.
They should have called it the Sarah Menace.
In response to the pressure from Matt and the rest of the house, Sarah isolated herself in her room, with Sasarai acting as a go-between. She would only leave it in Sasarai's company. However, this didn't last long, as Matt was able to pull a favor from a psychologist friend to get her treatment for free, and he managed to convince Sarah to attend.
Good. Because that's what's needed. Either she must be arrested and sent to jail, or she needs help.
Soon, she was on medication, and was interacting with the others on a more normal basis. It was during this
And is she bathing? I don't think we've heard anything from this writer Pete, whether this lady, smells like an undead, zombie person. Ugh. Can't believe that she doesn't bath. She just puts on scented oils and she thinks she's okay.
time that they discovered Sarah's true form of income. Quote, she said, "Plain as can be, I have people offer me donations on my blog so I can spread the news of my religion." Her religion being that she is actually a male video game character from a game that came out in the 90s.
She leads a cult, guys. That's what it is. It's a cult.
What? So there are some morons out there who are giving money to Sarah so she can pretend to be a video game character and teach others how to do the same?
They're not necessarily morons, but they are emotionally vulnerable people. They've just been taken advantage of by this manipulative woman. Very, very manipulative.
Something said, "We give her things because she has helped us find our true selves." "So you don't work either?" Tim asked. I could tell he was ready to explode. "No, I get government benefits in the UK."
Oh my god. Oh, you're telling me that the social benefits from the UK are funding are funding Sarah's lifestyle. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this story.
Why? Because I don't like to work. Soon after this, Sarah's boyfriend...
Well, others must work. Others must pay taxes. Others must suffer and toil, to make a living while you just enjoy the fruits of their suffering, their labor. Hey, no.
convinced her to abandon her medication, and the results were violent. After one of the ruder housemates demanded she start taking the pills again, she began smashing fragile objects, including a window. She would continue to take her pills irregularly, but by this point, interaction between her and the rest of the house fell to a minimum. By the time May 1st came, there was no sign of her moving out, and when Matt attempted to evict her, Sarah called the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, claiming discrimination against her religion and her disabilities.
What religion? What religion are you talking about? What discrimination are you talking about? No, Matt, hopefully you have evidence of this lady's crazy utterances in the house. That you took pictures, you took videos, you have sworn statements that are certified, of the experience of the other tenants in this building. Get as much information as possible when it comes to dealing with this particular tenant who stays in the house, Sarah. Because now she's taking advantage of institutions and departments that deal with legitimate cases.
While the state didn't follow through on these threats, they did discover that Matt had never filed the correct paperwork to house tenants.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, what are you doing, Matt? I'm on your side, Matt. I want to help you, Matt, but oh.
And Matt couldn't evict her until the proper paperwork was filed. But the strangest event would happen that summer. In July, Sarah gathered 12 members of her soul bonding group at the house to perform a ritual, threatening Matt that she would file a discrimination suit against him if he wouldn't let them stay.
Matt, get a lawyer, man. Get a lawyer and make sure that you prevent this lady from bringing more and more of her people into the house. What are you doing?
Though Matt acquiesced, he only allowed them to stay until 10 o'clock that night. One roommate demanded that the soul bonders be ejected, but Matt wanted to gawk at their ritual, and so they stood in the kitchen and ate pizza while watching them. Pete describes the ritual. Quote, "Sarah came downstairs, dressed in a white dress. She kept glancing at us. Something stood between her and us so she couldn't see us, I guess, and she began talking. She talked about how this was Betty's awakening and how Betty was now going to finally realize her potential by harnessing the soul of a video game character. I couldn't stand it. I started cracking up. The rest of the housemates started cracking up. This was better than any kind of TV you can imagine. See if you can picture all of these nutjobs kneeling around the altar as the video game played its music in the background. Sarah stood over them, preaching this
Okay.
Religion, and the right bishop something would occasionally interject something deep from her position. Sarah was really getting upset, so more of her friends made the human wall. We could still hear all the stupid, even after they turned up the volume on that video game. At this point, Matt threatened to call the police since it was nearly 10 o'clock, but when one of the members of Sarah's group threw a punch, the threat was carried out, and the group was forced from the premises. After this point, other members of the house would share some of their experiences, but as they did, readers grew more suspicious. Before this, many people had been doubting the veracity of the claims made by Pete, but when the other housemates began to write in a similar fashion to him, it made them even more dubious. These disagreements eventually spiraled into arguments whose full scope was not archived before being deleted, but they were apparently severe enough for the moderator of Housemate Horror to write a post regarding them. Also in this post was a surprising and unexpected piece of information. Quote, Tim, Pete, and Carrie, aka the people posting from the account Dragon Tiger Claw about the Sarah saga, may be as they say they are, different housemates of Sarah, or they may be the one person doing a little creative writing experiment. Basically, I don't give a crap. The posts have been amusing and entertaining, and anyone who doesn't think so is not being forced to read them, so please do not complain.
Yeah, whether it's real or it's just make-believe, fictitious writing here, it is entertaining. But if it is real, I'm really concerned about the people who are living with this, with Sarah, aka Jen. I'm really concerned about these people. They need to get this lady out of that apartment or that house as soon as possible. They really do.
Farther down, the mod continues. It has been brought to my attention that a post was made by someone who was claiming to know Sarah, and that the posts made by DTC were false and harassing blah blah wah blah. This same person, Jay Eckhart, sent me an email before they made that post, requesting IP address information on the poster of the Sarah stories in order to catch the culprit making these false and harassing posts. I declined, as I do not think giving out personal/identifying information such as IP addresses on members of my community without their permission is really a good thing to do you? Also, I have no proof that this person is really representing Sarah or that the posts made about her are false. I have no proof that they are true either, but until I get proof either way, I think the best thing is to not take any drastic actions. They requested I not tell DTC about them contacting me, and I intended not to, simply because it was the most neutral action to take, but then they made that post and made their intentions public. So I feel fine with telling you all, including DTC, about the email now. But meanwhile, elsewhere on the internet, other people were having their own discussion about the Sarah saga, and they would quickly discover much more than they first expected. On August 19th, 2008, a member of the Something Awful forums named Jabberwock posted a thread entitled, "If You Thought Furries Were Bad," which linked to the 11 parts of the Sarah saga that had been posted so far. The responses seemed mostly to reflect amusement, though quite a number of forum members echoed the doubt displayed in the comments of the posts themselves. One user, however, who went by Jägerhunde, had a different response. Quote, "I haven't read through the journals, I only started the first, but I swear this could be about a girl I knew and even once dated in that really vague, sad high school nerd way. She claimed that she was soul bonded to the Eris character from Final Fantasy VII, that her
Oh no.
girlfriend was soul bonded to Sephiroth, and she swore at one point with perfect seriousness that she was carrying Sephiroth's spirit child. Apparently, she'd conducted an elaborate fantasy life with these characters in her head and had written pages upon pages of god-awful fanfiction about it. So far as I know, she grew out of it eventually, but when I say eventually, I mean like late 20s.
Hey, better late than never. Better late than never.
Even when I knew her at 16, this kind of behavior from her made me want to stay far the fuck away. Oh yeah, the girl in question also changed her name to some bullshit nerd fantasy name she made up and absolutely refused to ever be addressed by her birth name. After reading through the rest of the entries, Jägerhunde returned the next day with a new post that took the other readers aback. Pretty sure I've got this all sewn up, goons. Allow me to introduce you to Catherine Rain. By pure chance, Jägerhunde had been in a small writing club in high school with Catherine, and still knew her Flickr account, her DeviantArt account, and her LiveJournal account.
Hold on. Is this not Genova? Looks very familiar to her.
They also discovered the Flickr account of someone cosplaying as Sasarai, who had numerous pictures of both herself and Catherine. One of these images credited her as Catherine Silverberg, Silverberg being the surname of a family of characters from Suikoden known for their tactical prowess in war. Other photographs had Catherine in a white dress, something that Sarah had worn in the Sarah saga. But the most telling piece of evidence Jägerhunde discovered was legal paperwork of her name change. By searching for her name in the county archives, he was able to discover her court schedule for when she legally changed her name. Though the accounts of Pete and his housemates were still doubted, the identity of Sarah seemed almost certain. They also were able to track down the website that this soul bonding community was using to proselytize curious internet users. Another person rediscovered the pamphlets that they would hand out at conventions.
Have you heard the good news about the true runes? Okay. Discover the runes' wonderful plan for your life. Okay.
Part of it reads, "The runes are devoted to preserving the natural order of life. While it can't be denied that their bearers have often experienced great hardship as a result of bearing the runes, we know that this is due to inexperienced bearers with no magical training, suddenly and unexpectedly receiving the runes' gifts."
Right.
With no knowledge of how to live in harmony with these powerful entities, they can't control the vast forces raging in turmoil inside themselves. But if people were taught to listen to and understand the runes, we could have the healthy, positive relationships with them that we were always meant to have.
Right.
The end of the pamphlet encourages readers to contact Bishop Sasarai. After looking through the information on the Final Fantasy house, Jägerhunde made another assertion, that Catherine had also been deeply involved with Jen and Hojo. He believed that she was in fact both Candy Wrapper, the person who had written the list on the website, as well as Eris, the apprentice that Jen had lost. Catherine had also been attending the University of Delaware during the events of the Final Fantasy house, only a 2-hour drive from State College. It appeared that, after these two distanced themselves from one another, Catherine began her own soul bonding community based on the Suikoden games, gathering followers over the years. Though the evidence linking the two was circumstantial, the specificity of it left little doubt, and this revived interest in the Final Fantasy house enough that new people were again discovering it. On August 22nd, just 2 days after Jägerhunde had posted about Catherine, he made another post saying, quote, "Took a day off, everyone. I don't really have anything more to add, except to mention to everyone that I've become aware that our protagonist is now aware of this thread. Say hi, everyone." Gleefully, the rest of the forum members began to post messages to Catherine, mocking and teasing her, claiming to be soul-bonded to any number of characters or objects. That same day, however, an update was posted to the Final Fantasy house website. Quote, "I updated some stuff to make it slightly more legible. Evidently, housemate Horror's Sarah is not Rain Crystal. This comes to me via the writer of the Sarah saga. If you think he's lying or that I'm lying, that is your own business, but that is what he told me. Rain Crystal's behavior, soul bond nuttiness, getting money for it, etc., is similar enough to Sarah that she is harassing the writer to stop posting his lies about her. As such, I still think she's worth warning people about. I am sorry, but based on my experiences and the experiences of others, soul bonders are dangerous freakos." Unquote. The next day, Jägerhunde had a strongly worded reply. Quote, This is actually a goddamn lie. Greta is a litigious-loving nut, and it sounds to me like housemate Horror Dude is doing damage control. I don't blame the Final Fantasy VII house author, since he's probably taking it simply on faith that our housemate horror author is telling the truth. But he's not, and anyone who's read this far through the thread should see through this pathetic obfuscation pretty easily.
A lot of confusion, a lot of potential lies and truths. We just don't really know where to stand on this amount of information. Whether it is factual or is it fictitious? Don't know.
Unquote. In response to one person asking for clarification, Jägerhunde replied, "It would be irresponsible for me to say that Greta and her friends have their collective panties in a wad about the housemate horror thing and have been pressuring the author to recant, so I won't. I'd like to add that it's possible that the housemate horror author is a very elaborate troll, but even if he is, this is clearly someone who knows Greta, if it's her, of course, and while I'm willing to entertain the idea that some of the particulars might be fabricated, the fact that anybody, like maybe Greta, has possibly gotten so defensive about a series of stories, which even use false names, says much about that person." Unquote. Finally, on August 24th, in mid-afternoon, all parts of the story were removed from the housemate horror blog. However, working from Google Cache, the members of the forum were able to piece together all of the parts that had been written by Dragon Tiger Claw and archive it on the forum.
Google Cache. Wow. I'll look that up. Yeah.
Though it also had been saved on the Wayback Machine. That same day, the original Final Fantasy House author posted an update to his website. Quote, "Well, what do you know? When something awful found Catherine Rain, things really heated up. The original writer of the Sarah saga got regular harassment until he took the story down. Considering the mind-numbing level of consistent details between Catherine's data and the data on Sarah, I'm going to agree with the goons. The OP was just doing damage control. It's obviously her. The current theory is, in one last-ditch effort to avoid more court battles with her, he deleted all the posts. Well, Greta, you stepped in it. You took away my train wreck that I was reading to defend your crazy cult. If he was writing fiction or not, you took away the fun. Thanks to something awful, we'll have lots of nice photos and links all here about you in just a little while." Unquote.
Okay, let's see them.
This last update remains on the website to this day, and a link to the Sarah Saga thread on Something Awful is provided farther down the page. Now, the Final Fantasy House's website and the Sarah Saga remain as a warning about fandoms taken to their extreme, but they also serve as an example of how the online space collapses the distances between people, so that even old friends with no more existing ties can discover or stumble across one another, with wildly unpredictable effects.
Alright guys, that is it with the Final Fantasy House Down the Rabbit Hole. made on the Fredrik Knudsen YouTube channel and requested by Mr. Troll 9795. Yeah, you know, if you feel as if you have no one in your life, you have no one to talk to, you have no friends, you have no one who truly understands you, you know, you have to discover yourself. You have to love yourself first, above all else. You can't be seeking validation from others. You can't be seeking happiness from other people. You have to make it yourself. You have to fight for your own existence and its right to enjoy its life. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say there. Because if you don't understand yourself, if you're not able to govern your own existence, others are going to pilot your life for you. They are going to manipulate you. They are going to use you. And once they're done with you, they'll throw you out. Or you'll be killed. You have to love yourself first. You have to appreciate your own existence first. Don't look for others to fill in that void. Don't look for others to give you that comfort. You have to comfort yourself so that others aren't able to manipulate you. That you know who you are, you know where you stand, you know your morals and your ethics and your code, and you understand how you want to venture into this world, and not to be told by others who you are. You know who you are. The arrogance of someone else to tell you who you are is already an alarm bell that should be ringing in you. If someone's going to be telling you you're the reincarnation of some game that was created in 1990, whatever, and saying that you are now part of our group and you are the reincarnated soul of this character, you have to understand it in yourself that what this person is saying is wrong. It's crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. So you have to understand yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to appreciate yourself. It has to be me, 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 me. Not you or we. No, it's me. Me first. You got to put yourself first so that you don't get into these types of traps where you're being led in these cults, where you're now being kept in a house and you, all of your money, your labor, your sweat and tears are being transferred into someone who's like a parasite, you know. So hopefully, you know, people who are watching this video from Fredrik Knudsen, if you are experiencing something like this where you feel as if you want to have a sense of belonging with a group of people, be careful of that. Be wary of that. Don't let them use you. Don't let them manipulate you. Stand your ground. If you feel as if this place is not beneficial to my happiness, beneficial to my livelihood, then you get out as soon as possible. Don't waste time. Don't be afraid to take that leap, to dislodge yourself from people who are simply using you. And then start understanding the process or the journey of loving yourself. And I'm telling you, once you love yourself, once you understand who you are as a person, those who are worthy of your friendship, those who are worthy of your attention, those who are worthy of your trust, they will come. They will appear. And then you will have that true bond and relationship and friendship with people who respect you and who don't just see you as a number in their cult. Um, and yeah, really, the stories in this in these different chat groups, um, I don't know whether they were real, but they would certainly were entertaining, especially with the Sarah one. That was concerning and entertaining at the same time. And also, the other one that was being pushed by, I think it was what, Jabberwocker, or Jabberwock. Yeah, I don't know if those stories that were put on that chat group or chat site were correct, or they were not correct, but they were factual, or it was just fictitious, stories just given for entertainment's sake. I don't know. But these Final Fantasy house stories, it sounds very concerning, especially when the writer was, giving out this information. It sounds very concerning in terms of these cults. It sounds very scary, and I hope the people who were part of these cults could get help, so that they're not trapped in this mindset. I get it if you want to believe that you're a soul bonder of some mythical creature. It's fine. That's your life. But don't be imposing such ideas on other people. Don't be doing something like that. If you believe that you're part of this mythical existence, fine. Enjoy your life. Do you. But don't be imposing it on other people. Yeah, it's this story or this video made by Fredrik Knudsen. Really, it just surprised me, because I thought we were going to talk about Final Fantasy. Like I stated before, I thought we were going to talk about the game Final Fantasy, but it took me to a place I never thought about ever. Cults dealing, related to PlayStation games like Final Fantasy. People believing that there are other kin or soul bounded to mythical creatures. Yeah, you do find people like that, and I kind of see them as people who just are playing make believe, and they don't want to grow out of that make believe youthful side of them. They want to keep it until their 20s, even 30s. And yeah, such people do exist. Generally, there's nothing wrong with them. But when it comes to people like this Jen or Hoji, or is it Hoji or Hojo? And Sarah, when it comes to these types of people who create cults and manipulate people emotionally, that becomes a problem. That becomes a situation that needs to be dealt with either by law enforcement, or they need to be taken for psychiatric help. They need it, definitely. Because innocent people, vulnerable people, are being taken advantage of, and they're creating these cults purely for their own self-enrichment, for their own purposes, and they would even use violence to get their way. It's a threat to society, and it needs to be dealt with. But people who believe in soul bounder or in this otherkin ideology, there's nothing really wrong. It's just the way they are, and eventually, or maybe not, they will grow out of it. And yeah, there's just nothing wrong about that. It is just odd. Personally for me, it's just very odd to see someone, think that way. But that's their life. That's their life, and they're going to enjoy it the way they see fit. But the point where it turns into a cult, the point where it turns into a violent cult, That's the problem. That's a problem that needs to be attended to. Yeah. Very interesting video. Thank you, Mr. Troll 9795 for the request. This was a very, very interesting video. Thank you also to Fredrik Knudsen for compiling and making this video very thought-provoking and entertaining and just unexpected. Unexpected. Really, truly unexpected. Yeah, I did enjoy myself with this video. And yeah, guys, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as Fredrik Knudsen's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, give it a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I'll see you guys next time with another Fredrik Knudsen reaction video. Yes. All right.